Here is the summary for the lesson 5, the one we did today in class. Okay. What we did is we did the three transformations that we know: rotation, translation, and reflection. We did those three, but we did them on a coordinate graph, and we were looking at the points and what happened to the points when we did those three transformations. Okay, so here we have first thing we looked at. We have a translation here. And one way to describe a translation is how many units it goes up and to the right. So right here, this one goes up 2 units to the right, 1, 2, and then 4 units to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it goes 2 units up and then 4 units to the right. That's one way to describe the translation. The other way that we described it is you can say this point, negative 3 comma 0, goes to 1 comma 2. So that's one way you can describe it. And once you or say it by 1 point, so if you say negative 3 comma 0 goes to 1 comma 2, that's all the information you need, because all the other points you are going to translate a similar way. Knowing that this goes to this point, you know how many units up and how many units to the right. Then this one, up 2 over 4, same spot. Up 2 over 4, same spot, correspond. The middle one, up 2 over 4, same spot, they all correspond. Okay. Each arrow goes up 2 over 4. See how, and you can see the kind of these lines, how they are parallel and the same length. All right. The other one that we saw was when we did a reflection. So in the example that we did is we did a reflection across the x-axis. And the key there is when it's above the x-axis, it's going to be below. Above comes below. If it's below, it's going to be above the x-axis. So they switch positions, and then D and D prime, they are exactly on the x-axis, so they do not move. Now, the point of the lesson was to see how those points change. Look at the coordinates. So right here in B and B prime, the x coordinate stays the same. Negative 4, negative 4. The y coordinate changed. 5, negative 5. That's the pattern. It's the x coordinate stays the same, and the y coordinate changes sign. You can see that in all of the points. 0.5, 0.5 stays the same, but now it's positive 4 and then becomes negative 4. On E and E prime, 0 and 0 stay the same, and then the y coordinate changes to the opposite. Negative becomes positive. Okay, so you can see that here in this right here, when you are reflecting over the x-axis, this is the key. It's the x-axis. The x coordinates will stay the same. So right here, the x, in the example here, you see x stays the same, and then y, you do the opposite, the negative. So right here, it's 13 comma 10. It's going to stay the same. It's going to be 13 comma negative 10. So the y coordinate is the one that's changing. In the one here, 13, negative 20, 13 will stay the same. The 20 will become positive 20, changes sign. So now here, it will be 13, stays the same. 570 will be the opposite, negative 570. And then when it's a reflection across the y-axis, it's going to be a little different. That one only works for the x-axis. So then the last one that we did here, when it's reflected over the x-axis, here you're going to see it does matter what axis it is reflected on. So we have 1 comma 2. Where will it go when it's reflected across the x-axis? That's like the ones we just did. The 1 will stay the same. The 2 will change. So that will be 1 comma negative 2. X-axis. It's kind of opposite because the y changes, but the x stays the same. Right here over the y-axis, with the y-axis you are reflecting across this way. So now the number here, notice what's going to be different. The x number is going to change, and the y number will stay the same because it's over the y-axis. So here this is going to change to negative 1 comma 2. You see that difference there? The axis of reflection changes which points change. Okay, rotated 90 degrees clockwise with a center 0, 0. This is one that we saw. Notice here, just see the points. Notice how the points change. We'll do more examples like this. Notice how this became X and Y switch, and this one you change the sign. Okay, so that's kind of like here what we did here. Rotate 90. We did these 3 rotations, 90 degrees counterclockwise, 90 degrees counterclockwise, and then 90 degrees clockwise. The difference between the first 2 is the center. So in this one, the first one, the center was B, and the second one, the center is A. And in the third one, the center is 0, 0. So now all we did is notice that these lines, notice all 3 lines, these are all the rotations. These are all parallel lines. They line up. They are the same length. Those are things that we're going to be getting in more detail about when you're dealing with the 3 rigid transformations. Okay? What is the same about these rotations? Again, they are the same length. All 3. The green ones are all the rotations. All 3 of these are the same length. And you were playing around with it and seeing how they worked on GeoGebra. They are the same length. The angle is the same. That makes them all parallel. They're kind of 90 degrees compared to this blue line, which is the original one. Okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen.